ATM News. This one is called Where Feelings Live, and I'll tell you why. As some of you know, we teach a quadrant shield course about physiology, piety, people, and production. You can even take a free course about these quadrants on us, and I'll link it in the description. There's even a tracking app that you can get with it for free. So let me tell you why the Defender Quadrant starts the way it does, with physiology. Before I ever studied behavioral science formally, I learned about the body-mind connection by paying attention to what was happening to me. In the mid-1980s, I was living in a halfway house, trying to leave behind an addicted life. I had a young wife and a small son to look after. Sure enough, at that time, I began to develop a bad back. It happened while I was walking down the sidewalk with the boy, and I put him up on my shoulders, and suddenly my back went into spasms. So I carried on, and my knees buckled a bit, but I took notice, and that was just the start of it. But what was really curious, over time I noticed something else. When the emotional climate of my life became unsettled, particularly my marriage or inside the house itself where I was living, my back started to go into pain. It would follow suit. When tensions rose with people and my sense of belonging went south a little, the pain intensified. When relationships stabilized, my back pain eased. The pattern was too consistent to ignore. This went on for years. And that was when it first occurred to me that emotion doesn't only exist as a feeling that I sense and interpret, but as a physical experience. It meant that something I was carrying emotionally being expressed physically. Then another event forced the point even more. One evening I had chest pains while I was living at that house, and one of the men there thought that maybe I was having a heart attack, so he brought me to the hospital. After tests, the doctor told me my heart was fine, adding that what was happening instead was that my gullet was flipping. Then I asked him what that meant. I thanked him first, of course, as a polite Canadian, and he explained that I was having an anxiety attack, which no way I saw myself as an anxious man. I didn't usually live in comfort or illusion, nor experience myself as particularly fearful, though I knew I had a reputation. I thought I was alert and reactive and responding fairly well to the conditions around me. If anything, I was a little less afraid than most. Anxiety sounded like something other people struggled with, not me. Yet there I stood, not ill, not injured, and clearly not having a heart attack. And though I didn't yet have the language for it, I suppose what was really going on was I was dysregulated. That's something I would have to learn to address. After I moved to another city and I went back to school, I had a few more episodes like this. It made the lesson even stronger. I'd sometimes wake up in the middle of the night with pressure in my chest, and I knew it wasn't cardiac, having learned enough by then to recognize it for what it was. Instead of arguing with my thoughts, I'd get up, get dressed, go outside, and start walking. Then I'd do this jog, walk, jog, walk, jog, walk thing. And the idea was to keep moving until my breathing deepened and the tightness in my chest loosened. And sure enough, within minutes, the pressure would give way and I'd feel the knot, that tension in the center of my chest would just dissipate. There's something about putting one foot in front of the other at speed and breathing deeply that works. Once I settled down, I'd return back home, I'd go back to bed, I'd go back to sleep. What surprised me was not that movement helped, but how reliably it did. It wasn't reasoning my way out of anxiety, but changing my physiological state, and my thinking followed along with that. It seemed as though the body was entraining the mind. At that point, I understood emotional disturbance is not merely in my head. Feelings live in the body. A tight chest, altered breathing, tension in the jaw, knotted stomach, restless limbs, rigid shoulders, shallow breath, weary eyes, and flushed skin are not metaphors for emotional life, but are how emotional life presents itself. Results in shallow, fear-based breathing to boot. That's the key. Most sensation does not originate in thought, but rises into it. The body signals and the brain interprets long before a sentence or a theory forms. Over time, I came to understand something else as well. If emotion is lived in the body, then the body is also the best place for me to resolve emotions too. That's why movement was working so well. When the body remains activated without release, the mind tends to spin, producing one explanation after another. Is it this, or is it that, or is it this? Eventually, it stalls. When it can no longer resolve that uncertainty through analysis, it shuts down, and It immobilizes. Everybody's felt this. When physical action is reintroduced, breathing resets from over-oxygenation, and the nervous system reorganizes itself. Restoring the oxygen-carbon dioxide mix allows clearer thinking, not because it's been persuaded, but because the internal environment has changed. So that's why physiology comes first. It's why we made physiology the first quadrant on the quadrant shields. The ability to regulate the body sits underneath judgment, discipline, emotional steadiness, and endurance. I mean, there's a place for mind over matter, but usually only if the body's actively involved. There's even a TED talk on the effects of power poses on confidence. When that internal system falls out of order, particularly as in higher number of breaths per minute, we need 5-6 breaths optimally, they say. Anxious people are up around 15, 20, 25 breaths per minute. This appears in relationships, work, decision-making, self-control as physiological instability, and that carries consequences. The Greeks were right when they said that we are what we regularly do. We don't reason our way free of trouble so much as we work our way through it. Action restructures internal experience in ways explanation alone never can. For me, this became one of the most simplest lessons I ever learned and one of the hardest to ignore. When my life went sideways, movement restored order sooner than argument ever did. The power of positive thinking is real, and it taught me happiness was largely a decision. Same about vitamin G, gratitude. Counting daily blessings works for mental health, often better than antidepressants. But when the mind is jammed, 5 burpees will break a stalemate more reliably than a simple positive affirmation. In martial arts, they say where the nose goes, the head has to follow. It's also true that where the body goes, the mind tags along as interpreter, offering continuous, updated explanations. If you want to change your mind, start by changing your physiology, I suggest. Use breath, sleep, eye gaze, focus, facial expression, and exertion, for the mind exists to serve the body, and the body is the universal address of your existence. Till next time, stay powerful, true and free.